Good evening. It's 12 September 2024, and a couple of months ago I posted the first thing about my book on emotional incest called Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Anger, and I had a number of people leave comments in that and say it's something they'd never heard of, what was it, something new, etc. And so I thought this would be, I pulled the book up, so I'm going to be looking over here at the book once in a while, often, and talking to you over here. But um, one of the things about the book is they say I wrote it, I called it A Childhood Stolen and Recovery as an Adult. I'm an old guy, so I'm sort of an old guy. I often say to people that going into this field that shrinks often go into this field to work out their own problems, then get a real job later on. And what do I mean by that? Shrink is, the kind of whatever word for psychologists and psychotherapists like myself. We're supposed to be shrinking your brain, getting the problems out of it. Okay. And so, that's why I call myself a shrink. I'm okay with that. Shrinks often get into the field to work out their own problem, then get a real job later on. And what that all means there is that it's amazing how many times people don't realize they go in to do something because of what they experienced growing up. I remember my proctologist, TMI, but proctologist back in the university days out at La Jolla. I said, wow, you're kind of a prominent, doctor in that. Why are you working on proctology? And why did you stick in this field? And he said, well, primarily because he said, to tell you the truth, he said, I was going into medicine, but then my mother died of cancer, rectal cancer. So he said, I just figured it's something I wanted to do. Okay. So a lot of people do this. And this is dedicated to a lot of people, this book. And the way I end it is a number of names in there, but then I say it's dedicated to the people for listening to me, to all my thoughts about this issue for the past umpteen years, and the rest of my extended family support group, etc., for hanging in there, listening, and not hanging me. I know for many people it's been frustrating, okay, to hear so many things. And a lot of times we hear about problems that we never thought existed otherwise. It's kind of unusual. I've mentioned just recently in a couple of the dictations or the reports, some friends of mine who were kind of surprised when I talked about parent issues, and they talked about parent issues, but they thought that their family or their family member that had the parent issue had never experienced, and no one else had experienced it. I said, yeah, they did. It can be kind of an awkward thing, okay? And I remind people that, psychologically, uh, when you start hanging out with people, you're not just hanging out with that person, dating a person, spending time with them, living with them, working with them. You're not just spending time with that person there at that moment, but they've also got a past they bring with them. And some of them have adjusted to it better than others. I wouldn't argue that. Some are uncomfortable. I say, I didn't realize till I was 34 that I had such a big issue with my stuff. And that's when it's like, oh, wow, I got to make some changes here. And that's partly when I went into full-time psychology and psychotherapy rather than staying with the teaching and going into orthodontics like I planned on it. In relationships, people have to realize we all have stories that we bring to the table. Um, and this book is, the one type of harmful experience, emotional incest, that shapes the actions and reactions of those who've lived it. And when you're armed with knowledge about some of these things, you'll be able to more easily recognize things in others and the signs in others. You'll be able to better understand why they behave as they do, the reasons why they relate to you as they do. Understanding builds some empathy sometimes, which helps us strengthen or end relationships as we care about ourselves and others. Without understanding what's going on, though, we aren't well equipped to make such important relationship decisions. I hope to add fodder to your awareness reserve in your head and help you become more fully equipped to deal with life and the future and relationships. As you go through my book, use whatever you can that works for you. Try to listen to some of the other stuff too. Glean anything that might help you personally and might help you understand others around you. And bank the rest for later. And I mean, put it in the reserve bank because you might never know when you're going to hear this from somebody. You never know what might be useful at another time later in your life, in other words. In my case, I may have been denied the chance to be a little boy, at least at the appropriate psychological times in my life. When I was a little boy, but now as an older guy, I found that it's truly never too late to have a happy childhood. As you go through this book, use whatever works for you. Try to listen to some of the other stuff too. They say glean out what works and what doesn't work. In my case, I may have been denied the chance to be a little boy, at least at the appropriate chronological time in my life. When I was a little boy, would have been the right time, but now as an older guy, I found that it's never too late to have a happy childhood. That's why we do a lot of fun things. That's why we play games. That's why a lot of people are doing a lot of things online now, so they can be what they always wanted to be. As you read the book, you'll find that first we'll spend time on our own story. And you will. As you read the book, you'll find that you're going to be thinking it's all about me for the first chapters. And partly, a lot of it's about me. And the idea is so that I can share with you and you'll understand some things that are happening. And as other people, some of it might make sense and some of it might not. You'll see how the experiences and my reactions to them brought me to this place I am today. They developed my character, parts of which you will like and parts of which I'm sure you'll not like. But no one will say that I don't have character, a personality of my own, or that I'm bland. I consider myself intensely mellow, is how I describe myself as. It's an oxymoron, I know, but befitting as you get to know me. I'll share true stories based on my professional life as a psychotherapist in Beverly Hills. They take place every day and night in Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, the cities of celebs and Oscars, losers with broken dreams, homeless guy with a script out there, confused lonely millionaires and billionaires, wannabes, hangers-on, has-beens and one-hit wonders, mansions, limos, drugs, silicon vaping, narcissism, and dysfunction and depression. You'll see a story or two about the folks from the desert where I was working on staff at the stroke rehab hospital for many years, as well as the experiences from teaching at an all-female Catholic university in beautiful Brentwood. You'll get to know some of the folks who I've worked with, the counselors, therapists, interns, who are here to help you solve your problems. And we'll tackle some tough questions. Are we really more messed up than our patients sometimes? Should we even deal with this? Okay. And you'll hear about those that I call the pre-dead. They're mere placeholders in life who are just breathing, yes, existing, yes, but just barely. They don't live anymore, they just exist. It's a little bit like what we had during the COVID times, where we weren't really having a fun life. We were really just existing every day, trying to get through that thing, and I agree. So, I'm real. The others, the people on both sides of the couch that I talk about in the book and the law that I present are composites due to confidentiality issues. But every story is very real. So sit back, get comfortable, read on, and listen to learn. Remember, your life is a precious gift. Don't waste it. It's the only one you're going to get. And I remind people that there's a lot of things. The title of the book came from, liberty is the freeing of oneself from the bondage to the parent, and then dealing with your anger, repressed and overt, that emotional incest has caused. But now living a healthier life. This is why I called it Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Anger.